Oh, here we go. Banjo music.
Banjo music. Hey. Not me, though, Gary.
Yeah. It's another episode of the Gary and Mark Show, and I'm Gary.
And I am Mark.
And we're coming to you. We're not live, but...
We are alive, Gary.
We're alive.
And we're somewhere we never... You've been here. I've not been here.
Well, yeah, and we got somebody here in the middle we're
That's right.
going to talk to, and that would be John Delaloye, but we'll get to him in a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's good to be here. And you'll tell us all about that in just a second. So, Gary, it's been a long time since we've had a
February.
Podcast. That's right. And now it's like July.
Yeah.
That's a long time.
It doesn't feel like February.
No, it doesn't. And, and I just listened to our last podcast. Remember what we said? We're darn good.
We did?
Yeah, we had a good show.
Oh, we did. Okay.
Yeah.
See, my memory's going, but that's good.
That's right.
That's good.
Well, this is number 58. I can tell you that much.
58.
And we're actually in our fifth season.
Fifth season.
That's pretty amazing.
It is.
Most people gave us one show.
Who would those people be?
Your wife.
Yeah, well, okay.
And other people. But
here,
she wanted me to stick
lady.
with the phone recorder, didn't want me to spend any money, but we spent it anyhow.
Yeah.
Money we didn't have.
And here we are.
And John may not know this, but when we're not here on the road, we're down in Watershed.
We are.
What's the state of things going on in Watershed these days? Do you know?
I know it's hot. I know it's hot, and I don't know what's going on at the campus.
I don't know, but it's almost middle of summer.
Yeah.
That means what's coming up next? Fall.
Yeah.
Back to school.
Oh yeah, school.
Our university. I don't know if
right, and we do have the Gary and Mark Podcasting University.
That's right. I don't know if you knew that.
I did not know this.
Well, you should enroll because I'm sure you.
I'm very excited.
Your great wife was saying she went to Duke. Well, this is better than Duke in that it's free.
Mm-hmm.
Free.
I'm going to jump up right now. Can I go and sign up real quick? And
you might be surprised.
And then come back.
You could sign up on your phone and graduate before you leave here. This is how quickly we give diplomas
and you don't have any school debt.
That's true. But you know what?
A real positive thing.
I made a big mistake on our last show. We had not our first listener, but we had someone from Australia send in real money in U.S. dollars, wanting to buy a couple of our stickers.
And speaking of which, friends and neighbors, if you want to send us some money,
that's right. You can do that.
You can do that. We will accept that.
GaryandMark.com.
Yeah,
you can do it.
Yeah.
But we made this person, Robin Dunn, the president of our Australian fan club.
Yeah.
But I kept referring to Robin Dunn, stupidly, as a she.
Yeah.
But Robin Dunn is a he and always has been he.
Yeah.
Not anything changed or whatever.
Yeah.
So I wanted to apologize to Robin Dunn, Mr. Robin Dunn from
Australia.
Still our president of our Australian fan club.
Yeah.
Okay. Should have known better. My brother is named Robin. I should have known.
Was that water spinning the correct direction for this little?
Yeah. I don't know. Good point.
Was it clockwise or was it?
We've got some Fiji
which
water.
We could call Robin right now and ask him to flush.
That's
and
right.
Tell us
that water down there,
which way it's going.
Okay, good.
But we're not going to do that.
Not going to.
We're not going to do that because we have our show today. We have someone here who I've known for not quite 20 years.
That's right.
But this is John Delaloye. And
all right.
Thank you.
There's a big crowd for John.
There it is. We don't usually keep it quiet.
They didn't even clap when we came on.
No.
But when John comes on, they did.
And we're here on site at Diamond Brand Gear in Fletcher, North Carolina, where John is the guy in charge. And Diamond Brand has been around since 1883.
I wrote that. I have 1881.
81. In several forms it has been around, but it's been in our neck of the woods down here since 42.
I did not realize we're somewhere else first.
Well, first it was was it first Philadelphia?
Well, you better ask
Fur
him.
and Feathers.
Fur and Feather.
And then it was New York Drop Cloth Company.
Really?
And when it moved down here, it was still actually the New York Drop Cloth Company, but the Diamond Brand part They 1942 primarily they were making canvas for stretchers.
Really, for the war.
Yeah, for the war.
And if you I'm not sure, we have listeners that are on the podcast, and some are watching on YouTube, but there's actually behind Gary over there probably a pretty old sewing machine. Actually looks like it still works.
Yeah,
That's actually a cam tacker.
Don't know what that is.
And I wish it worked. It doesn't work, unfortunately, because it is hard to find parts for it. So that's the old traditional mechanical tacker, and a lot of them now are electronic. They're made by Brother or Juki or someone else. So, but it is. We have seen them in use recently. We saw them at Filson in Seattle. But we like it because of its components and how it looks as a machine. It's a kind of a fun thing to look at.
Well, and so Gary and John have a long history together.
We do.
Y'all have worked together for
we
decades,
do. He came on board. When was it? 05?
05.
When he came to Diamond Brand, I'd been there. I was 89, 39. I'd been there since 83. He shows up in 05. And by that time, we'd moved from our original site in Naples up into Arden. Technically, we were right across the county line. And so that's where we were for years.
Right. And in those days, all the camps could go. There was a retail store as well there. It's not just manufacturing. But I guess what we want to hear about now is what you're doing now with Diamond Brand gear.
Yeah.
I hope you all are going to help me tell me what we're doing.
Well, we went through the factory tour with your dear wife.
Well, that's great.
It was impressive. Yeah. I mean, it's really cool stuff back there.
And I want to say, first, the old Scout tent fabric, this thing of making wood carriers and all these little packs, those are great. Those look really nice.
Thank you.
And of course, I had, as a Boy Scout, a yucca pack. I probably bought it my parents bought it at Gershman's, where Broadway Smart Shop and where Broadway St. Clair and Smart Shoppers meet in Frankfort, Kentucky.
Well, I thought it was in New York City.
In 1961. Well, I bought a yucca pack, and it was probably sewn at the Naples
Probably
plant.
so. Probably so.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now we are primarily focused on making canvas tents, and we have made other outdoor gear in the past, and a lot of that is moved overseas, and it's fairly difficult to compete with labor rates in the kind of the smaller tent or backpack world. And there are some folks with great brands and great designs that are doing a really good job. It would be tough for us, I think, to compete. But where we are a leader, I think, and where we do compete well is in the large canvas wall tent.
Which are used by whom?
Which would be used by summer camps. They'd be used by campgrounds, camping groups. They might be used by hospitality groups now that are renting tents as an overnight stay or potentially a week-long stay. Sort of, the term that everyone, sort of has their own reaction to, which is glamping, glamorous camping. And no one's found a better term. But it's a good term in the sense that it is a campsite that is essentially set up for you, that you can come to with no gear, unless you have gear for hiking or doing things while you're there. But you don't have to focus at all on setting up your campsite and getting out into some nice spots, some places that are close to national parks, some places that are close to the outdoors out here in Asheville. There are some places, certainly. So they allow people to sort of come, potentially just drive up, check in, and they're essentially, outside in a tent.
I've kind of heard it referred to as safari. Kind of, the idea. It's
right.
Yeah, you've got a platform. You're not on the dirt.
And some of them have windows with screens in them. We saw some outside.
Yeah,
windows with screens. That the more recent trends are toward a private bathroom.
Really?
In a tent,
in the tent,
a
meaning
private,
like a porta potty inside your tent?
Something, exactly. Some people have that expectation, and
Gary just uses a jar outside his tent or inside the tent, throws it out.
Actually, I was doing that last year when our sewer line was out, but we don't need to go there.
Now, I'm not sure mechanically exactly what some of these toilets are and how they're set up. They could be very rudimentary.
How many years, John, have you had the gear part of this?
The gear part I've had since 2015, so about 8 years.
So were you doing glamping tents at that time too?
We were.
Okay,
we
so
were.
that's
A
not
lot
that-
of them were going more towards summer camp, and we've been a big partner for the Boy Scouts in their summer camps and their outdoor operations through this, mostly which were in the summertime for a long time. I mean, that relationship goes back to the 30s, I think.
It goes back. I remember Arnold Kemp, who he would have been the second generation, right, of the founders. Talked about his father Dave had bought all these surplus tents from World War I that said USA on them, and they were able to kind of stencil the U, make it more of a B, so BSA, and they and so
That's right.
So
you still do
almost 100
scout
years.
tents, Boy Scout tents?
We still do, but they get used by a lot of people, and we're trying to stay. We've done some newer designs in the last couple of years, where we're trying to make them more flexible, more usable for folks, maybe in their backyard, maybe on property they own. We still love the idea of making a tent, which to us means it's not a permanent structure. We believe folks should be able to set the tents up themselves. Some might require them to have a few friends with them, but we still prefer that, and we still prefer that they be temporary in a sense, that they could still be picked up and moved.
And all of these tents that you have on the floor and in the 10-yard, are they made back here in your facility?
They are.
Which is huge. I mean, how many square feet is that?
All total, it's about 60,000 square feet.
Oh, gosh.
And we have a lot of sewing space per sewer, because the tents, to move them efficiently and ergonomically and keep them from being a big burden to someone as they're sewing them, we need a lot of table space and other things that they can move the tents. They'll slide and flow a lot more freely. So we need room for where all that fabric is while it's being sewed.
So most of your fabrics are canvas, or are you still using any nylon?
Canvas, mostly canvas. We do a little bit with polyester, but as far as, we're asking about what we're trying to do, we think right now we want to carry the mantle of being the most sustainable tent makers on the planet. And so we are shifting a lot of our focus on our fabrics and their coatings and other things to more eco-friendly and more sustainable materials. We've done some projects with folks at Chapel Hill, some folks at Duke, and NC State prior to that, and we've been looking a lot at how long do tents last, what are they made of, what was the process involved with making the fabric in that material, and it's all super. We understand the issues pretty well, and it's kind of fun to be thinking about it because, as you can kind of see and have mentioned, tents they use a lot of fabric.
Yeah.
And if they get thrown away and after their end of life, they're going to sit in a landfill for a while, especially if they're made of a synthetic material.
And so we were shown by your dear wife this newer line, I forgot what it's called, but where you're taking all these old pieces and tell us about that. That was impressive.
So we created a couple of years ago to try to mitigate some of this tent waste. That tents, when they get to the end of their lives, are sent back to us. We call this the revival program. There's a little play on words there with the tent revival. But,
I was raised Baptist. I can get into it.
But it sort of fits. And so we call it our revival program. So we encourage folks to send tents back to us when they think they're at the end of their lives. And we will take them, clean them, recondition them, and then use that fabric to sew gear, to sew bags. We do a utensil roll. We do some larger duffel bags. We do some messenger bags, some packs, some simple backpacks. And that way that material doesn't go to the landfill to just sit for, who knows.
Are those already on the market?
They're on the market. And what we do a lot with is we'll, to encourage folks to participate in the program, we'll send them back some of the things that we're able to make from them, from their tents. So they ship them to us, and we give them things of value that they can sell, use, give to other folks in their programs.
There's really a unique look to them. I have to get a picture of them before we leave.
Yeah.
Get them off your
Well,
website
yeah.
or something, because you don't see it. It's like a patchwork, many of them of different.
Well, it's nice of you to say, and the fabric is different ages. It's they've been in different environments. They come back from who knows how they were treated, kind of, and used and cared for. So it's a lot of variety, even in the shade of the pearl gray, which is the lighter green color that we tend to use. It also comes back with a really nice hand in that a lot of the fabric is almost worn in like an old pair of jeans, and so it's a different feel. And a lot of the coatings that were put on the tent in order for to help it repel water, to its flame retardancy, its mildew inhibitor, those kind of things are all essentially long gone. So it's just a nice piece of old cloth.
It's like having an old friend.
That's right.
If
they felt like that.
And, too, I think of the tradition of quilting. It reminds me a lot of quilting. And, of course, quilting, a long time ago, it was more a necessity than art. I mean, art. It was... You didn't throw anything away.
Right.
So.
They looked like quilts.
Yeah,
The things we saw, yeah.
Yeah, they're great looking.
Well, and what we do is not is not something we invented. We like to really be in dialogue with the past, and there's a strong part of that that's quilting. There's a strong part of it that is based on Japanese boro, boro, which is there. If you've seen indigo, any indigo clothing and things from that's older, you might see it. That it will have patches, that it will have been repaired or patched back together with fabric that they did save because fabric was so hard to come by.
Yeah.
So they'd have the article of clothing, it would wear out a little bit. They would then patch it with the little bit of fabric that they had. So we love that tradition. It's a great sensibility. There are other things tied to it that we think if we can continue to do that, that we're making some positive contributions.
So is this where we mentioned you can visit Diamond Brand Gear website?
Okay. What is the website URL?
DiamondBrandGear.com.
We'll put that on our...
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate
both
that.
in the, podcast version. They can see it in the notes below, or on YouTube. We'll run it across the video.
And how about this? We'll give a new announcement just for your podcast listeners and viewers.
Okay. You're going to hear it here.
Are you ready?
Do we need the toilet or the applause?
I don't know. This is big.
Okay.
There have been rumors of this, but I'm going to go out on a limb.
Okay.
So folks will, by the end of the summer, be able to come buy Diamond Brand Gear in Fletcher and shop and potentially look at tents and see what they want so they can see what the options are before they buy.
Wow, that is good, because prior to this, they have to just go online and look at pictures.
Correct.
So.
And we would do tours almost by appointment and one-off. So we won't be, we're not going to be a wide open store that's open, 6-7 days a week. We'll be open a few hours a day. So folks can look toward our website or look to our social media or yours in the future, and we can talk about when we might have times where folks can come over and shop and buy some revival things that they'd like, or there we go. They're coming from the factory.
That's right. So speaking of social, do we have any social media, Gary? Do we have any social media?
Do we?
Do we? Saying they can look on our social media.
Oh, well, we got.
I think a podcast is social media.
Well, that's true.
Yeah, I think
so we have some.
You can check that box.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
So
right.
so we will be toward the end of the summer, and we will not be an outdoor retailer. So we will not carry any brands but our brand, things that we have made here. We may have some repair things that we help that fit with our sustainability support, so that if folks need to repair some of their things, we're going to facilitate that and make some things helpful. We also partner with someone for wood-burning stoves and some other things that will enhance kind of the wall tent experience.
So like your frames on your wall tents,
right?
Where do they come from, the frames? You don't manufacture those here.
Interestingly enough, Mark, we... the last set we did, which is where the frame is branded the Orion frame, we did. We just created our new one called the Orion 2 and shipped that to camps this summer. And it is made in Hendersonville,
North Carolina.
Byers Machining, I think it is.
How about that?
They do a great job. They've been great partners and super helpful to us. So I'll give a little shout out to them. But we designed it, and we used to have it made in other places, and we've imported some from China, believe it or not, which we don't like to do. But with COVID and supply chain issues, we needed to. I mean, we folks need a frame to set up a tent typically. So it's hard to do one without the
body
other. So-
needs a skeleton.
That's right.
So,
Exo or internal, doesn't
but-
matter. Got to
but-
have one somewhere.
But we, I think, will have a design now that we'll never have to do that again. And so we'll source the tubing here, which will be steel or aluminum, and we'll have the brackets and the other components made in Hendersonville, and we'll have a frame kit.
And for those folks who don't know, Hendersonville, North Carolina is, let's see, how far? About 8 miles away.
About 8 miles
8
away.
or 9 miles away. And
Home of Gary and Barbara Evelyn.
well, and if you come to Hendersonville in the Fletcher area, I mean, wonderful places to go eat and have beer. So you could come over here and pick out your pack and your tent, and then you could go have a beer or your beverage of choice.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We have
Absolutely.
Fiji water right here.
Fiji water.
They're serving to us anyhow.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, two things, like on the tents you sell to the Boy Scouts.
Yes.
Is it still stamped with Diamond brand gear, or is it not say any of that kind of stuff on there?
It is all branded Diamond brand gear now.
Cool.
There was a period up until a long period, I should say, up until 2019, where we essentially contract manufactured tents for them. So they were built to the Boy Scout specifications. They made a lot of the design choices, and we would make their tents. And when I say they made the choices, they would say, keep making it the same way we always have. And that just sort of put us in a weird spot. And by selling, we were actually selling to their distributor, to their central purchasing group. And so we had very little interaction with people in camp and people at councils that were actually putting on the programs. So we made a change in 2019 that we could talk directly to them and sell directly to them, so that we could improve tents, change the design, and do it all with their input, because they're the ones using them all the time.
Some of these Scout tents, do they come in different sizes for
They
wall
do.
tents? Okay,
They
so
do. Smallest is a 7-foot by 9-foot tent, which is it's historically been or traditionally been for 2 Scouts to use. Then a mid-sized tent would be like a 99 foot by 9 foot. And that is, we're finding a little more popularity there, that they want a little more space, and some of the states are requiring a little bit more space for each camper from a regulatory standpoint. And then we do a staff tent, which is 10 feet by 12 feet. And a big staff tent, group tent, that's 12 feet by 16 feet.
you've never gotten into the circus type, not that big, but I mean like 30-foot long tents or anything?
We haven't. There are a couple reasons. The main reason why is that production process is different because of the weight of those tents and the size and how you need to move them around the factory. The factory would be set up very differently to just make that something that people could do. The other reason now that's really, I think, very important to us too is those tents tend to be made out of PVC and other materials that we just want to shy away from, and we don't think they're great solutions. So there's not a lot good about what goes into them, and they're made to be used as rentals in a lot of cases. Go up. They take a crew to set up.
Crane,
they're not
elephants or something.
Yeah.
That's a big effort. We don't really go down that path because we couldn't just ship it to someone and have them set it up. They're too big, too heavy, and potentially dangerous if they're not set up correctly.
Or even if they are, things can go wrong.
Even if they are, something could go wrong. That's correct.
So, not to get any secrets from you, because we got 6 or 7 listeners, okay, but you've got to be looking in the future, I'm sure. So are you, and tell us what you're doing, but are you thinking ahead, like what's the next thing you might have to come up with?
Well, I think it's how do we make tents more user friendly?
Don't give away. These other companies are listening to our podcast because we are, what do you call that, Gary? You had a word for it. Influencers.
We are influencers.
Right. So
we're
Correct.
under the influence.
there could be 10
Correct.
manufacturers listening in right now.
Well, I'm sure with my audience and following, I'm sure
Well,
I think it's gonna take things up a notch. Are you ready for that?
It doesn't take a lot to go up a notch for us, though, I want to tell you.
Okay, well, you might be seeing a lot more folks coming because of
12
my
or 14.
social media, media followers.
I bet you do. I saw your blog on the website.
The blog's pretty good, actually, if you read that. And we did a lot of work last summer around sustainability. So there's some really good information there about kind of what we were looking at. A lot of it was written by an intern that we had who was in the master's program at Duke in the environmental studies school there.
Now, are you a Duke graduate?
I'm
Susie
not.
is.
No,
Okay, no,
she
she's
is.
Northwestern.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes, I'm in. Yeah, a little controversy in the news. We probably shouldn't talk about Northwestern right now.
I'm not.
Oh, that's right. We won't bring that up.
No, I want to hear
we
about
we
that.
have a little. We're in the news for the wrong reasons
Sports.
right now.
Well,
So
That's always sports.
right.
Almost.
So, so I don't. But we also have a son at Carolina at Chapel Hill, who's a junior. So we've covered both sides of two of the three, I should say, maybe if you would throw State in there. So we've got two covered.
Good.
Two covered.
But-
And so fortunately, I'll support Susie and I'll support Joseph, who's my son, when their teams are, and I stay out of it when they're playing each other.
That's good.
That's always good. I get where I don't even turn it on. I don't want to know till it's over.
Well,
And then if my team won, then I'll look at the replay or something.
Sure.
college basketball in this state, it's religion. So
It is.
right.
It
don't want
is.
to get in arguments.
Yeah, there's people from Australia may not realize that, but and we do have, John, true story. We have listeners from like 50 countries. If you go look at our stats,
Excellent.
and it is amazing. And last time I was listening to our podcast, I told you the last one when we were here last time months ago. We were 31 for comedy in Croatia, and that was no lie because I get this little report where we're ranking in the charts.
That tells you
That's
what's going on in
fantastic.
Croatia.
I don't even-
If we're ranked 31.
And we were, maybe it was 30. We
Hey,
weren't sure if there
Croatia.
was 31 podcasts total or 30 was it, and we were the last one. Or maybe there's 6,000 and we're up at the top.
Giving a shout out to the Croatians.
That's
Hey,
right.
And nothing wrong with you Serbs or Albanians
No.
or
No.
all you other.
That's right.
that used to be part of Yugoslavia.
That's-
we like
that's
all
right.
of you. Yeah.
We do, and we have folks. We have some Moldovans that work here, as well as some Ukrainians.
Yeah. Yep. And the Moldovans go back. That was Ray at Kanuga who used to go help, and that's when they first started coming over here. Yeah.
And they're such good people. I do a thing every 2 weeks, which is become one of my favorite things to do, which is I have lunch with 4 or 5 employees at a time. And it's during their lunch period, which is 10:30 till in the morning till 11, and they're willing to give up their lunch once every couple of months to join in with a group conversation, and we provide sandwiches, and we sort of get to know each other a little better. And the agenda is they can talk about whatever they would like to talk about. And that can be personal things outside of work. It can be inside of work. It doesn't matter. And what we started doing, within the last year, which has been a huge help, is we bring in translators for those lunches. So if folks if English is a second language, if they don't speak much English, we can have a conversation. And communication is key. Everybody talks about how we all need to communicate better, but you're not going to communicate very well with folks if you can't understand what they're saying.
And Sister was wearing these cool little chains that had these your creed or whatever on it. Can you talk about that? I thought it was great.
So our mantra, which is we boil down to know, sow, and grow.
That's right.
So we pride ourselves on trying to encourage folks to have the knowledge of kind of what's important to us in our business, who our customers are, who our key vendors are, what our processes are, what our products are, how they work. And then sewing is essentially the heart of what we do. So we're in kind of some way we're joining fabric. It may not always be sewing. It might be welding, or it might be some other process, but we're essentially making things out of fabric. And then growing is personal growth is a big priority to us. So, and that can be in a lot of different ways. It can be if someone's pursuing some education outside of work, if they're doing something inside of work, if they're trying to take on a new thing and they want to learn more about it, we want to support that. So I don't want people just to be here to be stagnant. And it's one of the things that I can't sort of accept in my life. I have to, and probably I go too far to the other extreme, which I want to be changing all the time. So, but it's that growth of just let's experience it, let's understand it. And I think part of the communication thing and having folks from other countries, and we do this with Spanish translators too, by the way, and we've done Spanish translating a lot longer than we have for some of the European, the Eastern European countries and other places. So very, but amazing when you actually hear what they're saying. They're funny, they're heartfelt, they're thoughtful. You learn a lot more about what is important to them. Definitely one of the things that's come out quite a bit is family.
Yeah.
And that's been a real treat to learn more about that.
And how many employees do you have?
Right now, we're right around 50 employees.
That's impressive.
And it ebbs and flows a little bit based on, while we make our tents and some of these revival products and other things that are really our brand that we're trying to get back into the outdoor industry again, we still do some contract work for other people too.
Do you do any day packs still, any of that kind of stuff? or
Not much on the
mostly
pack side.
tents.
Mostly tents. So we do a beach shade for a company in North Carolina. We do a golf simulator, the actual screen and curtains that folks use to hit the golf balls into. The golf course and whatnot's projected from a projector onto the screen. We do some other what we call kind of niche military work for folks that have military contracts or specific designs that make sense for us to go ahead and make for them because those have to be made in the United States. So, but they're all very close to a tent. They're a shelter or a cover, or we make some litters, which are also a stretcher, which is kind of what goes, sort of. It was there. Now we're back around to it. So. Lots of those kind of things where they make a lot of sense and we can help some folks out. And some of those folks have been customers of ours for quite a long time. And, we have fairly open, trusting relationships with our customers. We like to share. We like to know what's going on. We really want to keep them in the loop in terms of what's happening with their products.
All right. Well, we probably need to wrap this up.
Yep.
Near Gary's bedtime, but before we
so
go,
much more.
Yeah, I bet that we could come back for another time.
I
We
bet
didn't
we
even
could.
talk about.
We could go out in the fall when it's not so
That's right.
blasted hot.
But Gary?
Yeah,
You recognize this music?
I do recognize this
What's
music.
this mean, Gary?
Pomp and circumstance.
What does that mean?
That means I think someone's going to earn a diploma.
And he was talking about actually signing up.
Yeah.
But does John have to do that?
No, he's already. Look here.
Gary will be making the actual presentation.
The presentation.
Okay.
Gosh, this comes with an award.
Yeah, looky here. A BS in
tearing up over here.
podcasting. Yeah. And honorary BS and extra honors.
Oh,
Extra
okay.
honor. He's putting on
And
his
it
glasses.
also talks on there how you can help with tuition and sending unmarked
Yes.
bills, PayPal.
Yes.
But you, John Delaloye, as of July 12, 2023,
That's today. I
that's today. Here is your diploma.
think. BS. How about that?
Yeah,
That's amazing.
You're amazing.
yeah.
And this university says established in 2019. That gives us some credibility.
It
now.
does, and
sure
And
does.
it
look
didn't
what
sound a whole lot when we started in 2000.
Sure does.
Look what's included in this. You get a GMPU sticker
Yep.
and a Rabbit Island
Membership.
exclusive Rabbit
You
Island.
may not know what Rabbit Island is.
Well,
not
Rabbit
sure.
Island,
I'm not sure I
that's
do.
a very exclusive to be a Rabbit Island.
It
Not
is.
everybody gets that. It's
Okay.
so exclusive.
Okay.
We're not going to tell people any more about it. But
Well, we need to wrap up.
All right.
Gary. So we ought to thank our sponsors. But you know what,
Yeah.
Gary, before we thank our sponsors, they've been our sponsors for like 4 years.
Yeah.
I think their sponsorship has run out. I think you and I are sponsoring
Oh,
us.
okay.
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 But we will think the one that you always mess up the wording, so I love that. Saluda.
oh man, what is it? The Big Eddie's
Green River beer joint or
beer
something like that.
tap room at Salute Outfitters.
That's right. In Saluda, North Carolina. They
Yeah.
were original. They could probably use
If
a
you
big
get the
tent.
name wrong, just go to Saluda. You'll find it.
That's right.
Green River Eddie's Tap Room
And bar and grill.
Bar and Grill. They got great fries.
They do. They do.
Yeah.
We haven't been there in a while because
No.
we haven't done a podcast in a
No.
while. But John, I want to thank you for being on our
Thank you,
show.
John.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And we'll
My pleasure.
We're going in a minute. We're going to push the off button, make sure this actually recorded.
Okay.
I know the video is, but sound wouldn't be very good over there. But John Delaloye,
Thank
Diamond
you.
Brand
Thank you,
Gear.
Mark.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Gary.
Thank you.
Gary,
Yeah,
it's been fun.
It's been fun.
We used to have a closing. I can't remember
Yeah,
what it was.
well, it's been another great episode.
There we go.
Here we go.
We'll see you soon.
Yeah. Boom. That is a nice banjo. Boom,
Not me.
boom, 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 boom.